Oh, testing. Okay.
I'm getting excited.
Oh, right.
It's not
Yeah. It'll get there.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. We have begin our evening with a public meeting. If you have not signed in at this point, could you please sign when you leave so that it's been recorded that you've been at the meeting? I call the meeting to order and ask if there's a disclosure of interest. As there is none, we have a resolution that's been moved in second to adopt the agenda as presented. Is there anything anyone want added to the public meeting? No, it has been moved. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We will now ask the clerk to read the procedures for the public meeting.
All right, this is a public meeting to consider amendments to the zoning bylaw under the Planning Act, RSO 1990 as amended. This act requires that a public meeting be held prior to council passage of any zoning bylaw amendment. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the municipality of Oliver-Papunge before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the municipality of Oliver-Papunge to the Ontario Land Tribunal and may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so.
Thank you. This evening, we have application number ZBLA 04-2024 on behalf of the municipality of Oliver-Papunge for approval of a zoning bylaw amendment to add a definition of a bunkhouse to the comprehensive zoning bylaw. I will now ask the planning department to read their report, please.
Thank you. In the last year, there have been some inquiries respecting dwelling units on commercial or industrial property. While an accessory dwelling is currently a permitted use in the commercial zones and staff does not feel it is appropriate to add a dwelling component to industrial zones, it did come to staff's attention that there is not an appropriate definition for multiple persons to stay on a commercial property for certain reasons. Earlier this year, council was circulated a report outlining potential housekeeping amendments. So this is a continuation of those amendments. So in our municipality, some businesses want to house workers in certain instances. For example, truck drivers who need to get to the required amount of rest before operating again. As such, staff have developed a definition for a bunkhouse that they feel should be added to section 2, being definitions, as well as under table 9.1, being permitted uses in the general commercial, neighborhood commercial, and general commercial 2 zones. The definition is proposed as follows. A bunkhouse means a building consisting of individual sleeping rooms for one or more individuals working for the same employer, provided that the rooms are not for rent or lease to persons other than employees of the same employer. A bunkhouse shall not exist without an active commercial business. The municipality requires commercial uses to serve the local residents, tourists, and the traveling public. Commercial uses are local serving commercial uses, highway commercial uses, commercial uses that serve the surrounding agricultural community, and tourist-related commercial uses. The addition of bunkhouses will only add to the community by giving these commercial businesses more opportunity to house staff safely and allowing more efficiency in their work. This application for a zoning amendment conforms to our official plan. Currently, bunkhouse is not defined and not permitted anywhere within the municipality zoning bylaw. This amendment proposes to add the definition of bunkhouse again to see section 2 being definitions of the zoning bylaw and to permit it under 3 of our commercial zones. Additionally, provisions will be added under section 3 of the zoning bylaw, further laid out in report 2024-109, which sets out the rules for bunkhouses. One bunkhouse is permitted on any commercially zoned property, provided the following. A bunkhouse may be constructed as a separate building or an exterior bunkhouse from the main commercial building, or within the main commercial building being an interior bunkhouse. An interior exterior bunkhouse shall not exceed 50 meters squared. An exterior bunkhouse shall not exceed the size of the main commercial building. A bunkhouse must be hooked up to the existing septic system and well, which must be pre-approved by the Thunder Bay District Health Unit and a certified well driller prior to a building permit being issued. A bunkhouse shall be maintained for the temporary accommodation of individuals in association with the main commercial use. The lot complies with all other provisions of the bylaw, and the appropriate building permits have been obtained. Adding this under the commercial zones does not deter from what the zoning bylaw strives to do, and therefore would be in compliance. The Planning Act requires every Planning Act decision be consistent with our provincial or with the provincial policy statement. Section 1.3.2 of the PPS speaks to employment areas, and more specifically, section 1.3.2.1 states that planning authorities shall plan for, protect, and preserve employment areas for current and future uses and ensure that the necessary infrastructure is provided to support current and projected needs. Allowing employees sleeping accommodations on site will help to keep employees on staff in many situations, further protecting the existing commercial base. Notice of this application and meeting date were posted in the Chronicle Journal and on our municipal website. No public comments or agency comments were received. Based on a review of the applicable policy documents, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is consistent with the PPS and the official plan for the municipality of Oliver Papoonge.
Thank you. I will now ask if there's any supporters in the audience that would like to speak in regards to the zoning bylaw. Is there anyone in the audience who is objecting to this zoning bylaw? Council, do you have any questions of the planner? Councillor Viss?
Yes, I have. Yes, I do. The potable water in the septic system, I looked through our zoning bylaw. It doesn't describe anywhere that I could find a bunkhouse saying that's what the requirements are. Is there a separate bylaw that makes that work?
The provisions of a bunkhouse would be added to our zoning bylaw if this amendment is approved. That forms part of this amendment.
Yeah, I understand, but my point is, I guess I couldn't find it. Excuse me, bunkhouses are allowed now in some areas, none?
No, we don't have it in our
And
zoning bylaw.
that settles for my question. Thank you.
Councillor Calvert?
Yeah, with these bunkhouses, is there a capacity limit for people staying in them or sizes of them and what's the regulations for that?
So in speaking with our CBO, he said that they would be single room, like basically just a bed. There would be a communal kitchen, communal bathroom. And then he said the only restriction that the building code has is, I believe, after 10 occupants, like 10 rooms, you need sprinkler system. So we didn't cap it in any way.
My question would be, how are we going to police that? How are
Right.
we going to be sure that the person sleeping there is an employee of the person that owns the business?
Very similar to any other infraction or anything like that in the municipality. It would be complaint based.
I have to say that I have a concern with this bylaw. I'm worried about policing who's in there and having a bunkhouse with 10 rooms. Just wondering what we're opening the door to. So I do have concerns. Dan?
And
Councillor
my concern would be that too. And also, like, is there a real need for this? Like, has there been lots of inquiries concerning this, or is this just the procedural thing that we're looking at?
It's come up in discussions in the last year. Whether the need is huge or not, I wouldn't be able to answer that.
Councillor Biss?
Yes, I agree with Mayor Lucy. The number, I think, I have no problem with the bunkhouse. I can understand people bringing material in and out. They're coming by truck. I know we have stuff delivered to the farm and then they have to find accommodation. But I think we should be able to put a number on it. Maybe 2 or 3 is all you would require at one time, I would think. But to leave it wide open, that's a scary situation for me.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I was also wondering with regard to the distance between buildings. Would that fall within the definitions of the requirements of the bunkhouse? As far as, I think it's right now it's 50 feet between buildings. So if there were
It's
more than
3 meters.
3 meters, okay, okay. And also my concern was parking. Because if you've got these vehicles, presuming that they're like transports and you've got them all lined up, then we do have parking provision requirements as well. So I'm just hoping that those would be considered when and if this bylaw is passed. Thank you.
Wayne?
Just wanted to comment that report that came out yesterday, 2024.109. The second point, section 3.3.3, the second page of that report. The second point, interior exterior bunkhouse shall not exceed 50 square meters.
So then you know how many you can have. Okay. Any further questions? No? Okay. That calls the end to our public meeting. We will be discussing this bylaw later on in the evening. I have a resolution moved and seconded to adjourn the public meeting, the time being 5:10 PM. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. I will call our council meeting to order and ask if there's a disclosure of interest. As there is none, I have a resolution to adopt it's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as amended. It has two reports added, report number 2024-10-108, which is a recommendation for sole source procurement of a Quansica budget software for $24,500. And report number 2024-109 ZBLA 04-2024 follow up with respect to adding a definition of bunkhouse in the zoning bylaw. Any discussion on our agenda? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. First item we have is a deputation in regards to keeping horses on Roslyn Road. I believe it's Cassandra Cloutier. Are you here? Would you like to come forward? When you speak, could you push the little thing on the bottom so the light is green, and then the people in the online can hear you. So it's your deputation, so go ahead.
Hi, my name's Nicole Korelchuk. Cassandra Lavalley Cloutier. She's my daughter. We have horses on our property, and we weren't aware of not being able to have them when we had a complaint. And I'm assuming I got from a couple of my neighbors, because I talked to every one of my neighbors on Roslyn Road. I'm sorry, I'm very nervous.
Okay.
And
we have to do public speaking. We're not good at it.
and it's mother-daughter, it's not working very well. But we were unaware of, somebody wasn't happy with our horses. I guess what happened was a while back, there was a lady that lived there. Her name was Karen. I heard this through a few neighbors of mine, and the concern was that I guess she had horses years ago and wasn't taking care of them, and it was a rat problem, which I can understand the gentleman's concern, absolutely, 100%. If that was his only concern, I mean, I can
We can vouch that the feces, the animal manure does not stay on the property.
I remove it. I have a place where I take mine, so I don't have any manure on my property besides what my neighbors take, because they take it for the garden. But regardless, we were just hoping that we could be grandfathered in for this. They mean a lot.
How many horses do you have?
We have a couple seniors that aren't going to be much longer. Except I have a rescue, and I take in the ones that pretty much no one wants, and she's on medication, and well, there's two of them are on medication, but
Marty's got a dislocated knee and stuff like that, so
So
he can't be ridden. He was pretty
it's-
much tossed to us. And yeah,
I had seven, because I run a rescue, and I think what set this gentleman off, and I can understand, is I ended up taking in 7 mini Shetland ponies, and they were getting rehomed. So I did not know he was worried and didn't think I was gonna keep them. I can't keep them. I run a rescue. So they're all been adopted.
Every single
There's
one, yeah.
some that even went to Vanderies on Maple Ward. And if that's the problem too, with me rescuing bigger or larger animals, I'll put a stop to it. I can help still. I just won't have them on my property.
we're just asking to
That we keep what we
please-
have that is
we will-
ours.
We will do whatever anybody says that
If
needs to be
something's-
done, we will
yes.
do it. I have 2 kids. Well, I don't know if you've seen them here
Yes,
earlier.
and my grandchildren love
On the
them.
way here, my son asked me what we were doing, and I told him, I said, well, we had a complaint, and they're saying that we can't keep the horses right now. And he almost started crying, and my daughter is absolutely obsessed with Marty and Essence, which
Yeah.
are the older ones that can't be ridden or anything like that. So it's just, I like to look at it as a learning thing for them also, because Bob cleans up the poop and he brings them hay. It's so cute.
It is, but also our neighbors, some of them, I even asked them to write letters because of what they said to me. I said, people need to know how you feel. They're therapy horses. I have people that come over and just say, I just need to see your horses. There they are, go ahead, you know?
So you have two horses yourself and the rest are all rescue?
Yeah,
or
they're
you-
all gone though.
There's one that just gave birth 7 days ago, so I don't know how transportation's gonna work for her, but she has been adopted and so is baby, so I am in the midst of
We're just,
downsizing everything. Cause it was ridiculous really, but I'm not gonna lie, but 7 mini Shetland ponies was quite a bit and then one gave birth, so they're all been adopted, so I just want to reassure that the gentleman that there's not gonna be a whole bunch there.
Okay,
it's just gonna be the two and all the manure will be gone.
Yes.
Everything will be looking prim and proper. We'll do everything that you guys ask. We're just begging, please. Please, our baby, they're our babies.
oh, okay. Well, was there any questions? No, Councillor Peacock?
Thank you for your deputation. I'm just wondering, how much property do you have?
I have 4.6 acres,
Thank you.
yes.
And is there anyone behind you, around you?
There's one person
One-
right beside us.
Yeah.
They also had horses previously too, and
Yes.
we went to them and asked them about it and asked them if they're okay with it. And asked them if they had signed the petition and they also signed the
Yeah,
petition.
we had everybody.
The one person right beside us, who was our neighbor directly beside us, they signed and we went through from the beginning of our property to the end of the
Anybody
property.
that lives across.
All we got everyone's signature. The only ones that we didn't was there was a gentleman, he couldn't get his hands off the walker to
I
sign.
just-
His
I
wife
couldn't
just
do it.
passed and
I couldn't do it, so.
we just told them it's
You have the
okay.
railway track backing.
Yes,
do
I
you
do.
not? Yeah, I know where it
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor Campo?
Yeah, thanks again for coming. Just curious, how long have you been there? Because I had assumed there had been horses there.
It has many years.
4 years she's been there.
I've been there 24 years. I raised my kids out there.
Yeah, when we moved there was Buddy and Skip on the property.
Has there
actually.
been horses there the whole time?
Yes. Not the whole time.
Okay.
There's been periods where there wasn't, but mostly yes.
Okay.
And even my one neighbor, that's closest to me, she also had horses and they would come and eat on my property as well.
Councillor Viss?
Just a couple of questions. You have just said you have 4 acres of land. And your request to us is, and that tells me that's what I have to deal with, that you have 2 rescued horses.
Yeah.
You just finished telling me you had 7 more.
No, no,
They're gone.
yeah,
They're
they're
gone.
gone.
They're
They're
gone.
gone,
Doesn't
sir.
matter.
Oh,
You said you had 7 more, correct? So you had 9 horses at one time on 4 acres of land.
yes,
That's the problem,
Okay.
yes.
okay? I don't have a problem with 2 rescued horses. How old are they?
19 and
Marty's just turning 13?
no, 10.
It doesn't matter. If they're that age, that's good enough for me.
Okay.
I'm in agriculture, so I
Okay.
know the end of that.
You understand, and they're on medication.
As long as you remain, your request is here for the 2 horses. If
Yes.
that, I don't have a problem till the end of those horses' life, but I do have a problem if you bring 7 more horses in because you
It stops.
can't do that on 4 acres. of
I
land,
understand.
Okay,
There won't be any
so,
more on property.
you know, we have to get that clear because all of a
Absolutely.
sudden you shocked me.
Well, that's what and I'm assuming that's why I shocked the gentleman as well. And that's why I said, I think that's what sent him over the edge because he had no problems for the past 3 years.
Got that clear.
No, absolutely.
Okay,
Further questions?
okay.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Okay.
No? Well, thank you very much for coming this evening and the council will discuss it and.
Oh,
you'll
thank
get-
you so much.
You'll get a
everybody.
letter.
Thank you for your
back.
time. Oh,
Thank you
okay.
so
Okay.
very much.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you. Thank you for
Okay.
coming.
Do I just press the button again?
Yes, please. The next item we have is a resolution to approve the minutes of the council meeting held on April the 24th. It's been moved and seconded. Were there any errors or omissions? No. All in favor of the minutes as presented? Opposed? Carried. Was there any discussion on any items of those minutes, page 17 to 38? As there is none, I request council's approval to move G before the A this evening because we have quite a large amount of planning items that are coming up. And if we move bylaw enforcement forward, then our bylaw enforcement officer does not need to be sitting here. Is he gone? There he is. So that's on page 132. Right. Is there anyone in council has any questions of the bylaw enforcement officer for his report? Councillor Viss?
Just for clarification, like a zoning issue, Roslyn Road, that's the issue we just dealt with. That's what I thought. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Calvin?
The burning was not a permit or something or out of time?
Just asked them what items are to burn, and they told me a permit and a lot of the stipulations and restrictions
Larry?
are actually on the he was asking about burning, and I said, you need a permit. All the restrictions and different qualifications for burning are on the permit. That's why you have to read it, and there's no daytime burnings.
Mhm. Okay, good. Mhm.
Any further questions? Is there anything further you have for us this evening?
Everything's good.
Everything is good? Okay. Well,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Now we'll go back to the original A. Page 39. All right. Next item we have is a subdivision application ZD 01-2022, the hydrological study report. It's here for our information. Okay. So we'll be open for discussion if anyone has any questions in regards to the hydro-G study. Councillor Viss?
Yes, I just have a comment. On page 40 of introduction, hydrology is not a subject which administration has any expertise, and I understand that. I received this report about 90 or 100 pages on Friday, and you give me 6 options to decide on. That's not fair. Staff should have, in my opinion, come back to us and had some kind of a recommendation, because that says they've worked with people, they work with organizations, they got answers, that I don't have those answers. Because I don't really know where to go. As I go through all this, I go, where do we go with this? There's so many requests of doing these type of studies. My question gets to be, do we do the whole Roslyn Village study? And who pays for that? And do we have authority? Does the province say we can just go and do that? And so you see, those are the questions I have no answers to. And so you're asking me to make a decision where I don't have enough information that somebody recommends to me, that we researched it and we said, this is what we find we can do. Just a comment. I'm just so many pages, and I went over it twice, and I said, I'll leave it at that.
Well, this report is for information only. This is for us to read and ask questions and get that information. It's not for a resolution.
Because if I just may add one to it, like for instance, the very first one, it says if you have over a certain amount of lots, you need to have 3 wells. And they only did 2. So that's the only thing that I could pick up out of there. Is there anything else that's required that I are not aware of? I don't know that. But so they come through there, they said, oh, they thought it's sufficient. No, it's not sufficient. The regulation says you must have 3 wells and not 2. And that's just one I picked up right blatantly out there. And so why did we not force them to do 3 wells?
They indicated here, and I'm not an expert, but they indicated here that because they were testing a shallow sand aquifer as well, then the 2 wells were sufficient. But again, I'm just reading what is here.
And I read that, but it's still, I come back to, it doesn't matter what they say. The regulation says you must have 3 wells if it exceeds 12 lots, and it's not. And that's my point.
Councillor Kamphoff?
Yeah, so I did read through it also. So I'm also not a hydrogeologist or an engineer, but as far as I could tell, that was the only thing that stood out to me that there was any concern with. So it would be nice if we had some guidance from Ministry of Environment or something if on that point, but other than that.
Yeah, on page 70 of the report, that's got the quotation from the CSL hydrogeologist. And there he explains, decided to do 2 wells due to the uniformity of the aquifer. They reviewed existing well data. And he goes on to say, unlike a fractured rock environment where more test wells are necessary to evaluate yields and drawdowns, when you have a uniform shallow sand aquifer, they respond similarly when you have a couple of wells. So in their professional judgment, they only needed to do the 2 wells. So that was their explanation for that.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. As well, I agree with my fellow councillors, not an engineer, not a hydrologist. But on page 57, implementation 5.0, it says, it should be noted that the MOEE will not recommend approval of official plan amendments or draft plans of subdivision or condominium unless the MOEE is satisfied that the hydrological study report demonstrates that sufficient water is available. So if we don't have that documentation, how do we move forward?
This D55 guideline was done in, I think it says the publication date when the MOE wrote it.
96.
Yeah, well, it's on page 69 there. I think I'm seeing it now, page 24, page 69. Published March 15th, 2016, updated June 2021. Since that time, MECP, as we know, has kind of withdrawn out of the planning field. They're not providing us with comments on subdivision applications. So I don't think you can expect them to make a comment, you see on page 57 about this. I provided this application to MECP with some questions, and they didn't comment on the application any more than what you see in this report. So we're not going to be getting a report of that nature.
Councillor Viss.
I just want to come back to CEO and I read this, it's perfectly right. But it said a decision was made to install 2 test wells. Who made that decision? Did they get from the ministry? Do we have a letter saying from the ministry that is in charge of this total thing, saying, yes, you can now only have 2 wells? I don't see that anywhere in here where the ministry has said to the engineering firm that they only require 2 wells.
Carrie.
Just for a little bit further information, some staff met with a couple members of the Minister of Municipal Affairs last week. And Vicky Cosney, who is the manager there, indicated to us that in subdivision situations, a lot of ministries, if they had concerns, would actually provide comments directly to the ministry. And they would provide those comments to us. And they said that they hadn't heard anything negative from anyone and were comfortable that we had satisfied all the requirements.
Councillor Campa?
I think practically speaking, looking, because we did have the presentation, was that our last meeting?
Yes, at our last
meeting. And Wayne, in using his skills, did the math. Where did it show up here? The potential would be there's enough supply for what is 617 homes or something, and we're looking at 12 lots. So I mean, I get it. We can argue about these 2 or 3 wells, but ultimately, if the province doesn't have an issue with it and the geologists that did the study didn't have an issue with it, I don't know how we can credibly argue that there's a problem with supply of water here. So that's my take on it.
Councillor Viss?
Well, first of all, to come back to Council Camp, I don't argue the point. It was just something that's spelled out and that's the requirements and they're not fulfilled. One other thing I picked up on here, they drew 190 wells records from the area. Did anybody see the report of those records? What did they indicate? Did they indicate sufficient water? There's low water? Is there's nothing in my report saying what the findings of those 109 wells that they checked out.
Yeah, that is correct. The information about the 190 wells is not in the report that we had. All that we know is the comment that was made in, I think it's page 70 the communication from the hydrogeologist at CSL saying he went through the well records.
We have Jeff at our meeting now, our consultant, our planning consultant. He's here with us as well. Just see him pop up.
Yeah, hi. If I could just make one brief comment. It's important to note that the MECP has guidelines for these hydrogeological studies. It's important to note the distinction between guidelines and regulations. It's not a regulation, it's a guideline. It provides guidance to professional environmental engineers and undertaking studies like this. Then it is up to the engineer signing off on the study to exercise his best professional judgment in making a call on how many wells would suffice for any particular development, and it's site specific depending on the development. And I think they did explain quite clearly in their report why they went with 2 wells instead of 3. And again, they're guidelines, but if in the best professional judgment of the environmental engineer, 2 will suffice, and good reasons are given for using 2, and I think they did that, then they can do that. The final word I would say is, and I think this is really important to the municipality of Oliver Papunj, when they sign off on this hydrogeological study and they make the decision in this case to go with 2 wells, they assume all of the risk and the responsibility once they put their professional engineering seal on it. And then that protects the municipality should there be some issues in the future. Sure, there are some disclaimers in the study, but basically what they've done is exercise their best professional engineering judgment and explained why 2 wells would suffice. I think they did that clearly. And again, at the end of the report, the risk is with the engineering, professional engineering consulting firm, not with the municipality of Oliver Papunj.
Thank you. Any further questions in regards to that report? Councillor Peacock?
Once again, with regard to the report that we 4.6, if the land uses within the minimum of 500 meters of the site once we described, and where wells exist or on an adjacent or are adjacent to the site, a survey of well numbers and sampling analysis, representative water or well water should be performed and reported. So we didn't receive any of that either, did we? And are we within these as strictly a guideline, or are we? Why do we have this if we don't have to comply with this? What I'm asking, I guess.
Yes, Wayne?
Yeah, as I said earlier, in the report that we received, it does not have all those details in there. But they had to do that type of work to determine things like its uniform aquifer, et cetera, that's in their report. What the reason why you get this D55 is because it's the guideline. It may only be a guideline that deals with doing these types of hydrogeological studies. So that's why it's in there, just to show what is required. And the key parts that I found in it, if you look on page 41, there is the section 431 of this pump test procedure. You're supposed to do a 6-hour test. You're supposed to monitor test wells to 95% recovery, and a couple of other factors. You're supposed to do a 6-hour test at 3 imperial gallons. They did a 6-hour test at 5.67 gallons a minute, so they exceeded the standard. And they also have a 98%. They measured the well till 98% recovery. And then they discharged their water away from there, so it didn't get back into the pump test. So they covered off what seems to be the key criteria in the D55 guideline.
Any further questions or comments about this report? Councillor Calvert?
Yeah, on page 43 here, the thing that stuck with me, it says, if the concern is that too many water drawings would generate water shortages, council needs to go to MECP to address it. And it said this topic is addressed in report 2497, so I guess that'll be the next step.
Alrighty, then let's go to the next one. The next is report number 2024.97, which is on page 82. And it's addressing the issues and concerns with regard to industrial development and groundwater supply as raised by residents. There's 6 resolutions, 4 decisions. Excuse me. So I'm going to pass this over to Wayne so he can go through each one. Page 82.
Yeah, this report has a number of sections that deal with different questions that were posed to us from concerned residents. So the first thing to look at, there was a question about prohibiting industrial development. It's on the bottom of page 83, unless you have communal water and wastewater, and having policy restrictions on light industrial or other development. So there's a resolution that council can consider on that. With respect to this report, would you like to have further exploration of the possibility of municipality prohibiting or restricting industrial development without communal water or wastewater systems, including a legal opinion? On the top of page 84, took a look at this in a little bit of detail. And you'll see there indented paragraph out of the provincial policy statement where, if you read that, it says you cannot restrict industrial development if it doesn't have communal. So I don't think you can do that, council. But if you would like to do that, we can explore it. But I think this here says you cannot. Someone can develop their property, industrial property, without communal water or wastewater.
Okay.
So that's,
Councillor Campoff?
I don't think it needs to be pointed out, but I'll point it out anyways. If we were to have such a policy, we would severely curtail any potential commercial development in this municipality because we only have a very limited area that is supported by a communal water system.
And communal septic or sewage system.
perhaps we should deal with them
Oh.
one at a time then.
Okay.
We have a resolution to that effect. It's the first one you see there, so we would
Been seconded
need a
first.
mover and a seconder.
Pass that over there, and if you pass number 2 over there, we've got to have these signed.
Well, I'll wait till we go through them. No, we're gonna deal with them one at a time. Yeah. Well,
Well, then we don't discuss it. We can't really discuss it until it's been moved or second, but it doesn't matter. We'll just forget that.
Just one question. Further on in our agenda, under the closed session, there is a section pertaining to the Roslyn Village hydrological study. Should we be moving and approving anything here? Are we premature in doing that prior to reviewing a report later this evening in closed session?
that closed report has nothing to do with this matter.
Okay. Just want to confirm that. And what does this one say?
This resolution will prohibit any commercial industrial development or prohibit any industrial development without communal water and communal wastewater system in our municipality.
No, we can't do that.
Do you want to pass it over here? Over in a second, please.
Just put it on the floor and then defeat it.
Well, that's right. It has to be moved and seconded to be defeated. Any further discussion? Okay, it has been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Did you read it one more exactly
Yeah.
what it said there, please?
Yes. With respect to report 2024.97, we recommend further exploration of the possibility for the municipality to prohibit or restrict industrial development without communal water and wastewater systems, including a legal opinion.
So the resolution's been read and moved and seconded. Do you agree with it? Are you opposed? It has not been moved. Next one.
Sure, we'll talk about the second one. And what this is about is no development being allowed until all studies are completed. Right now, when someone brings in a subdivision application, they don't have to have all of their studies done to get draft approval. How it works here and generally throughout the province is you get your draft approval, then you will do your hydrogeological study and your wastewater study and your noise study and those types of things. You still have to have reports from those initiatives that show that your development is going to work. But the draft approval is something that the developers would like just to know that they are going to be able to proceed. So they'll spend the money to see whether or not the project is feasible. There is this suggestion there that we should make people do everything up front. And the second part of this resolution, the second paragraph in that section there in 84, the thought there is asking industrial owners to do that is could be seen as discriminatory. So it could be that all developers, whoever they are, resident, should be subject to the same type of a condition, so that if you wanted to sever your property from your residential land, you should have to do your severance up front, whatever you need to do. Seems to be something would be seen more fair. So there's two resolutions. The first one would be to require the studies up front for industrial development only. Look into that further. The next resolution is to do that for all property owners.
Okay, so resolution, excuse me, resolution number 2 is in regards to requiring all developers to do all their studies. Is this commercial too, or just industrial?
Industrial.
Industrial development before they apply for draft approval. What we do now is a company can come and request draft approval. The reason they would do that is they may come in here and say that we want to put a asphalt plant next to Roslyn. And they come to us first. We go, no way, isn't happening, go away. Then they don't do any of the studies. If you make them do all the studies ahead of time and then you say no, that's kind of, that's going to stop people from even coming here with their businesses. So the practice has always been to kind of get a feel from the council. If all the studies come out good, then we will look at your project favorably. And that's the way we've always done it. It's draft approval. It's not final approval. Ms. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. That would, to a degree, be undue hardship, would it not, for a developer? Yes, thank you.
Yes. If you do that for industrial and then go and do that for a person who's asking for severance, that would mean that person would have to get the health unit out there, have all the survey done and everything before they come to council. And then we go, nope, you can't have the consent, which is, they're putting all the money out for not knowing if we would approve the consent or not. So the first resolution is, if you'd like to read it, please.
Yeah, it says, with respect to report 2024.97, recommend further exploration of the possibility for the municipality to require all studies to be completed prior to draft approval for industrial development, including a legal opinion.
Okay, so we need a mover and a seconder before we take a vote. Doesn't mean you agree with it. We're just opening it up to a vote. The resolution has been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Councillor Campa.
Through the chair, is there anywhere else in Ontario that they do this?
I'm not aware of anywhere. There could be some place or
I'm not aware of any.
I'm not aware of any place. The Planning Act lists conditions for after
Okay.
provisional approval. So I would suspect that most or all places do not do this.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So we have a mover and a seconder on the possibility of having all the studies done prior to draft approval. If you are in favor of that, please hold up your hand. Not in favor or against, opposed, not carried. The third resolution is the same thing, requiring every person it doesn't matter what kind of development, if it's residential or commercial, would have to do all their studies and all their paperwork before it came to council. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Is anyone in favor of this resolution? Opposed? It's been denied. Now we have resolution number 4.
yes, it's another section in this report, the concept about doing an village hydrogeological study. So you'll see there's 2 resolutions for that, the one at the bottom of page 82 and the one on the top of page 83. And in the bottom of page 85 and the top of page 86, you'll see a discussion about doing a Roslyn Village hydrogeologic study. It would be complicated. It would be hard for us to even just try to hire a hydrogeologist to do that right off the bat. I think you would need to have a preliminary engagement with our hydrogeologist to learn more about how that could go about. What are you looking at? At the bottom of page 85, there's some of the things that have came into our minds thinking about this. How many aquifers are we looking at in Roslyn Village? How do they interact with one another? How much water can they, on a sustainable basis, produce? How do you do this kind of a study? There's how frequently would you do it to ensure you have up-to-date results? So if council would like to do that, we could look at hiring hydrogeologists to advise us on how to go about it. And the one thing I have though at the top of page 86 is you need to consider what other areas in the municipality could also use this type of study. If Roslyn Village is one spot, maybe you need to do Kakabeka as well. You need to consider that. So here's the resolution for it. And the second part, I guess I'll talk a bit about that. In there, there's a little bit of discussion about municipal jurisdiction. And I think that's council needs to be aware of that. Water supply is not a municipal power. Ontario runs the water supply. If you want to get water in Ontario, you have to get a permit to take water. Unless it's 50,000 liters a day or less. So the municipality, and you do a hydrogeologic study, your lack of authority in that area may cause you some issues. You should be aware of what they may be. property owners don't need to cooperate with the municipality on a water study. If it's someplace like there just happened in Alberta, the property owners there needed to cooperate with the province of Alberta because they run the water system. They run the water supply. It's the jurisdictional issue.
Mm.
So you may want to, if you want to go ahead with this, find out what you can actually be doing. But so anyways, there's a couple of resolutions for that. The first one would be to get a hydrogeologist to just give us some preliminary concept of how this would work. And the second one is getting a legal opinion about what rights we have in this regard, what authority.
Okay, so Councillor Viss?
Well, just a comment on that, but I read into here when I went to, it's prudent to know, it says, what authority we have over groundwater before we conduct hydrology studies? Well, I think the answer just came out, we have none. So we're gonna get a legal challenge guaranteed by the developer if we force that on him unless we're willing to pay the price, then that's up to us. But then still can we stop him from developing when it's not our authority? How do we do that? You see, that's why I said when I threw this report, it was very difficult for me to just, where do I go with this, you see? So, but I think Wayne did give us some of the answer. We have no authority as a municipality.
Not with surface or groundwater supply.
So would it be prudent for us to ask the MECC to do a study
They
and
won't,
see what they tell us? If they say they're not interested, where does that leave us?
I don't know if they would do it on our request.
I don't think they would. We're getting into the next
Yeah, the next
piece of this
resolution.
report.
I think we should look at number 4 first,
Right.
which is, do you want the municipality to issue an RFP to get a hydrogeological consultant to advise on conducting a study for the Rosin Village?
Oh, I
the
understand,
cost is
Mayor
gonna
Lucy,
be.
if I may interrupt you there. But it ties into it. If we have no authority in it, then what's the purpose?
You're right. Councillor.
Thank you. And if we get the MOECP to investigate the groundwater, would there be a charge to that or would it? Because if we have to hire someone, then there's going to be a cost to the taxpayers
The taxpayers.
for that. But if MOECP is to monitor the groundwater, would they charge us?
No, not
No.
at this point. No,
No.
the province would pay for it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess we can start talking a bit about that sixth resolution that you see on the top of the page, a little bit down on page 83. And that says that with respect to this report, we recommend further query to MECP about its monitoring of groundwater supply in Roslyn Village and whether or not there are any grounds for MECP to investigate the groundwater supply. And how that resolution was put together was based on the review of the system that MECP has, MECP Water Quantity Management. That's discussed on the bottom of page 86. And they have a guideline, it's 14 pages, it's in your report. And in here it says, on page 89, you can see the bolded stuff. Under the regulation of I think it's the Ontario Water Resources Act, if the ministry becomes aware that there's an area where the water system is stressed, the ministry is obligated to develop a strategy to deal with it. So they're the persons that have the rules binding them to do something about stressed water systems. And if you take a look at the bottom of page 89 and the top of page 90, it indicates some of the things that they look at in determining whether you have a stressed water system. The review of the permits to take water is the first one there. I don't know what this is. The environmental activity and sector registry registrations, discussions with water takers, compliance actions, frequency of dry well complaints, information from different governments, information from provincial monitoring. They have something they mentioned there, Ontario Low Water Response, so groundwater monitoring. The province has their hands in this. And if they are come to the suspicion that there's an issue with some area, this mechanism is there for them. I asked the MEC people what they know about Roslyn Village. They didn't respond to me yet. And I also asked them, is there any place in Ontario where you're doing this? And I didn't get any answers. But I think they're wrapped up in the Oak Ridge Moraine area. There's 15 municipalities in that, and it's a conservation group. And what they're doing is they have a strategy to monitor, manage the watersheds in that area. And the NECP person mentioned it, but I didn't get a direct answer. Are you in that? But that's, so that's the idea that you see behind the 6th resolution. So if council was thinking that doing a hydrogeological study on its own is not the thing to do at this time, the alternative is to go to MECP and see what they have to say about the water situation in Roslyn Village.
So in other words, you would support resolution 6.
This is up to council
Oh,
to
that's,
decide.
yeah, this is what,
There's,
that's
you-
recommending that we inquire with the MCP about doing groundwater study.
unless you want to do the alternative where you get a hydrogeological consultant to start telling you about how you would do a study in Roslyn.
But that would be an initial cost before the study's done.
The hydrogeological consultant's not coming for nothing.
No.
That's right.
Councillor Campoff?
So to the chair, I just want to be clear. So for resolution 6, is administration actually recommending? Or is this just the way the resolution's written? But is that the recommendation of administration that we query MECP?
Yes, that's number 6.
They all say that. We
I
recommend.
understand that, but I mean, is it the opinion of administration that we should be querying MECP?
You want my opinion? Okay, that's what I would do.
On what grounds?
They're the only ones that have
They're
authority
the
over
people, they're the
groundwater.
people who are supposed to be in control of the water supply management.
No, I understand that, but I mean, and I certainly understand that a lot of the people here, they have concern about the water supply, and that's a valid concern. I mean, I personally have had lots of issues with water, but we have had a study that we had presented at this previous meeting, done by a credible engineering firm, telling us that they had zero concerns about water supply in Roslyn. We've done the math, worst case scenario, we have enough supply for 617 homes over this area that we're proposing, or the developer's proposing to do 12 lots. So I think we're going, I understand the principle of being cautionary and, making sure we're doing the right thing, but I just don't see the justification for it.
Of course, this study would be the whole village of Roslyn, not just that one area. Yeah. Okay. So we'll just start with resolution 4. And that's recommending an issuance of an RFP to engage a hydrogeological consultant. And so we have a mover and a seconder, please. Can I have number 5? We'll go this way. We'll do it quicker. Second this one. And we'll. So we'll wait till they're signed. This is the other one we will be voting on. Okay, the one we are now voting on is the one recommending the issuance of an RFP to engage a consultant to advise on conducting the study at Roslyn Village. Anyone in favor? Opposed? It's been defeated. The next one that's been moved and seconded is recommending further exploration of the municipality regulating groundwater or surface water supply. Yes.
Could I have discussion on that? And I think I like doing that. The problem is I could see it coming back to us when the Council Camp Hop identified that all the requirements that water study does exceeds what was expected. That's my problem. When I look through all these, it says, it exceeds the standard. The opinion that the study fulfills the D5 and the whole thing, it just filled the whole thing. That's just so confusing to me, but we're relying that on just the engineer that did the study. Now, what our man said there, once he signs that off, that's the case, then that relieves us from any liability. That goes to this company. So if for some reason, if it becomes that there's a water shortage, say the next street over, which is Pennock, then those people, this engineering firm would have to make sure they supply them with water. Am I correct?
I don't know what they would have
Well,
to do.
If he signs off,
Yeah.
because you see, that's our concern sitting here. It's nice to have 12 lots developed, but it's awful if we put 60 people out of water. And I couldn't sleep over at night to that, but this study says it shouldn't happen. But if the engineer says, yeah, I agree, and I sign off and I'll look after that, then I have no problem moving ahead. But I need that assurance.
The engineer has signed the report. Councillor Campbell.
But I mean, we never have assurances like that. So what about the developer's right to use the water underneath his property?
I know.
So I mean, he has a right to use, he owns the property, he's got it zoned, I mean.
Yeah.
He has the right to use the water. Of course, I mean, we need to take consideration everyone's concerns and rights here. But all that being said, this would have not come up if this development wasn't proposed, correct?
That's right.
Like have we had concerns about Roslyn water? Like I realize there's people have individual concerns, but has that been something that's come to this council, that there's been a big issue with people having supply issues with water in Roslyn? I'm not aware of any. I've been sitting here for a few years, so.
Yes.
There's a bit of discussion about some of that on page 84 and 85. The municipality here, as far as I know, we don't have any records of water shortages in here that we've been recording. There was a suggestion that there was this type of record at LRCA, but the LRCA CAO was unaware of it, but there could be something there that just didn't have clues into what it may be, if there is something there. But the idea about the anecdotally, just what stories you get, and there's some factuality in it. People, yeah, they will have a dry well here and there. That does happen. But is it a overall pervasive problem? That's where we don't have any data on that. But I think, right now we're in Roslyn Village, it appears that, generally speaking, this water study, that there's water, things are good. But, it's conceivable that you overdevelop and then there isn't enough water for everybody. Now, are we there, or when is that, or whatever? I don't know. That's why if we want to know more about that long-term type of question, that's why where I would go to MECP and say, what's up here?
And that's exactly where I would head. It's the number 6. But the query to them to see what their concerns are with this. But we have to undoubtedly push them, since we don't seem to be getting any response from them. We have to follow up on this, because let's face it, development in the future if we're ahead of the game with this, we'll have it beforehand. That would be my, I'd rather have this stuff through them ahead of the game, not after.
Okay, Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I think that it would also be beneficial for the, not only for this development that has been proposed to us, but also for future developments that we know are coming down the way, you know, as far as the other housing developments in kind of in that corridor that, and at what point do we ask for peer review? Because perhaps it's, you might say, one man's opinion as far as the fellow who was in it that did the study and was here to do his presentation. Just my thoughts. Thank you.
So again, the resolution that we are now voting or talking about is recommending exploring the possibility of the municipality regulating groundwater or surface water supply. The
Legal.
exploration of that,
We need a legal opinion there to
including
understand.
a legal opinion, yes. Now, if you are in agreement with that or opposed to that. From what I've read, I don't think we have the authority to regulate groundwater or surface water, but if, no. So I will call for a vote. It's been moved and seconded that we recommend further exploration of the possibility of the municipality regulating groundwater or surface water supply, including a legal opinion. Be approved. All in favor? Opposed? It's been turned down. And now resolution number 6 is recommending that we further query the MECP about its monitoring of groundwater supply in Roslyn Village and whether or not there are any grounds for MECP to investigate the groundwater supply. It's been, no, it hasn't been moved and seconded. Pass it. Well, it has now been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Councillor Campoff.
So this is at risk of just yelling into the darkness at them and not getting any response, of course.
They did give them technical information
Yeah,
when they spoke to them, but
Hopefully we'll
Well,
get
this-
something out of them.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, they're obligated to respond.
Well, if especially, I mean,
If they respond with, we don't have any information about water shortages in the Roslyn Village, it's not on our radar screen.
that's a response. Yeah, fair enough.
again, this is the 6th resolution. It's been moved and seconded about acquiring to the MECP to monitor about its monitoring of the groundwater supply in Roslyn Village. And whether or not if there should be grounds to investigate the groundwater supply. All in favor? Opposed? It's been carried. Now we go to, yes, certainly.
There's just one further thing I'd like to mention about that. In that thing about the MECP's water quantity management, they talk about records of water shortages, et cetera, well records and what have you. The bottom of page 87, if there are residents that run into water shortages and so forth, I put 2 and 2 together, and I think they should be contacting MECP and telling them what their circumstances are. The MECP, they're in charge of water quantity management. They need to know.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. It's just more or less a comment, but in the city, they can monitor odd and even days for watering your lawns and things like that. And I think a lot of the homes in the Pennock area have automatic sprinkler systems. And so I don't know if it's just encouraging people to be mindful of that. I don't know. Just a thought.
That's the difference between us with people on their private wells and the city. The city's got a permit to take water from MECP. So people live in the city, they're not getting water from nature, they're getting water from the city. The city's got the permit. So the city can say, you can't water here, you can't water there. They can put rules out. Here, if we told someone on a private well, well, we don't want you watering there, then they can just say, get off my property. And that's it.
You know, if they care about their well and their neighbors, then they would not do it, so. Right. Okay. The next item we have is the Cooper Road subdivision. We have a recommendation report. It's rather long. Rather long. And there has been a couple changes to it. I could see it on my copy. So. This is the draft plan approval for the North Star Holdings subdivision. Okay, so the planner, did you want to go through them, Carrie, or just?
The conditions?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so there are 16 conditions in total, 14 of which are specific to certain tasks that we're going to require. The first is a final plan of subdivision be submitted to the municipality prepared by an OLS suitable for registration with the Ontario Land Registry Office. This is a final M plan. The final plan, as a condition 2, will illustrate the 12 private vacant industrial lots. That the environmental protection zone designation be shown on the final plan of subdivision by the surveyor. There will need to be a cul-de-sac turnaround area at the south end of Cooper Road. A stormwater management plan is required as part of the subdivision agreement. That the subdivision agreement be executed with the municipality, including but not limited to road construction specifications. Cost estimates are required as part of the subdivision agreement, as well as a drainage and stormwater management plan. A lot grading plan will be required as part of the subdivision agreement. We also have conditions that state that the existing road located on the subject property be brought up to the municipal standard, that the owner developer provide Hydro One with the necessary easements and or agreements, that the owner developer provide Enbridge the necessary easements and or agreements, that the owner developer reimburse the municipality for professional engineering services required to review any designs and specifications for any infrastructure and or environmental concerns associated with the subdivision approval. That the lot grading and drainage plan be to the satisfaction of the Lakehead Region Conservation Authority. That in the event of an emergency, an exit onto Roslyn Road through the unopened municipal access at the south end of Cooper Road be provided for in the subdivision agreement. That lot 12 have a notification requirement where the purchaser of the lot is notified that any portion of the lot, that the portion of the lot regulated by the Lakehead Region Conservation Authority and any development within the regulated area will require a permit from the LRCA. And that site plan control be registered on title for each of the 12 lots. And that we receive confirmation that conditions 1 through 14 have been satisfied prior to final approval. And that draft approval for this development lasts for a period of 5 years, and the owner can apply for an extension at least 60 days prior to the lapsing date should they need more time.
Could you just read the 3 bottom ones, 2 notes of draft approval, please?
Certainly. It is the applicant's responsibility to fulfill the conditions of draft approval and to ensure that the required compliance with the conditions is forwarded to the manager of planning here at the municipality, quoting file number SD01-2022. All measurements in the subdivision final plan must be presented in metric, and that the plan must be registered within 90 days following final approval by the municipality.
Okay. Any questions in regards to those requirements? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Just looking for an explanation. Road construction specification cost estimates are required as part of the subdivision agreement. Is the developer not responsible for putting the road in?
Mhm.
So why would we need the cost estimates?
Jeff?
Yeah, the reason why you need cost estimates, in a subdivision agreement is the developer needs to post a security before the construction of the infrastructure begins. That way, in case something goes south and there is a problem, that the municipality does have a security either through a bond or a letter of credit And that way, the municipality is certain that the infrastructure will be built to municipal standards for the completion of the subdivision agreement. In order to determine the amount of the bond or the letter of credit, cost estimates for the construction of the infrastructure or the roadway need to be provided by the municipality and then reviewed by our Public Works Department or our engineer, if we have a consulting engineer, to confirm that they're accurate. And then that actually goes into the subdivision agreement in the form of the amount of the security the municipality will take in the form of a bond or a letter of credit on the road.
Okay, any further questions? Councillor Pico?
One further one, just wondering, do we have it written somewhere in a policy that the municipality has or a bylaw, what our municipal standards are for roads?
Through the chair, we refer to OPS municipal spec, whether it's rural or arterial roadway. We either put curb and gutter in an urban setting or we go with a rural road setting.
Okay, so those are provincial regulations. Any other questions? Okay, so we have the draft resolution there. Right there, is that it? Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I'm sorry, Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I'm just wondering why on page 107, the conclusion is administration would not recommend a peer review as the study is clear and concise and meets all the criteria. Does it now that we're concerned with regard to the hydrogeological issue? If it's going back to MOECP?
No, that study's not going back.
That's for a potential study of the entire
Oh,
Roslyn
village.
Village.
Okay.
The whole village, yes.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Any further questions? So the resolution has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next item on our agenda is zoning bylaw amendment ZBL A04-2024 in regards to the bunkhouse. We have a resolution that's been moved and seconded. It is open for discussion. I still have a bit of a concern about, since there is a size restriction, we know that we can't have a 10-unit or 20-unit bunkhouse appearing somewhere. Any further discussion? Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Viss.
Yes, Marushi, again, come back to your comments. I agree fully. Can we not put something stipulate the unknown number of people that you're allowed?
Well, Wayne had indicated that there's a size restriction to the building.
And how many buildings? Like,
It says only one in the
Okay.
provisions,
Okay.
in that separate report that I provided. Only one bunkhouse can be permitted on a commercial property.
So can you tell me then how many would allow in the size of the bunkhouse? How many people could
Mhm.
you legally put in there?
Carrie, what was the size of each unit, did you say?
We didn't discuss the size of the units.
didn't
We
know?
just,
Oh,
just
okay.
said
Is
that.
that's 540 square feet.
That's the maximum they
meters
can
is-
go.
So if it's these units, you mentioned like a dwelling unit, I can't imagine more than,
Well, it's like a
They're only
bedroom.
rooms. They're essentially
Like a
just
bedroom.
dorm
Did-
spaces.
did it
It-
say something like 10? Is that, I
10
thought you
beds.
mentioned something like.
Do you stack them?
Well, yes, 10 is a magic number. If you go over 10, then you would need all that life safety stuff, sprinklers and all that. So that's kind of something to
So
watch your one.
through the chair, it would be difficult to, I mean, it's relatively simple to regulate size, but how do you regulate how many people are there unless you got somebody counting people?
Yes.
By a law enforcement officer.
John?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the 10 is by occupants. So, if you have 10 rooms, you're only allowed to have 10 people. You can't go up to 20 people, two in each room. I think
But
that's. the
somebody
cutoff.
has to go and check that once in a while. I guess we go by complaint. Yeah, I guess we go by complaint. If someone says, gee, Whitaker's, there's like an army coming in and out of that building every day, then we could send the by law enforcement officer. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. It would just be washroom facilities available? There wouldn't be a kitchen?
Yes, there is a kitchen. I believe,
A communal
a
kitchen.
communal kitchen.
There isn't cooking facilities in each room. It would just be a communal kitchen for everyone.
Just to support the number of people that we may be looking at, the bylaw speaks to must be employees of the employer.
Mhm.
So I think we'd be fairly certain in seeing if there was 20 new employees at a commercial business.
Yes, I know. If you could gear that, you know, how many employees do you have? So. Yes,
So is this helping to clear up something that's already existing? Is that more or less the reason for it?
There is one known situation. But it was brought forward simply because it was something that was noted in the original report listing potential housekeeping amendments for the year.
and this does have to be a business that's in operation. It can't be a business
Yes.
that's closed and then all of a sudden they've got people boarding in a bunkhouse.
Yes, the definition says shall not exist without an active commercial business. And it's also important to note too that these can't exist without a building permit. So when we receive a building permit application, it would get reviewed. If something was very hot, like if it was absurd, then it would be brought to council for review as well. So there's that extra step that we can use.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor Peacock?
So just to clarify, you couldn't have a bunkhouse in just a parking lot. It would have to be an existing business because in their definitions, it shows a parking lot as being zone general commercial. So it would have to be an existing business with well and septic to allow for this, correct?
It has to join the businesses. well, and
Yes.
Septic.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, report 109 that was added to your packages lays out all the provisions.
Okay. Any further discussion?
And,
Oh,
excuse me,
Councillor Kell?
they'd be registered when they done it, like get the permit, and so we have a heads up on this undoubtedly.
The building permit
Yeah.
would be in our building
Yeah.
permit report every month.
Okay. So it has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Been carried. Okay, then we have report number 2024-109, which is a follow-up in respect to adding a definition. Bunkhouse in the zoning bylaw. That was emailed. Is that a different one?
That's, yeah,
Oh, that's.
those are
okay,
the
'cause-
provisions for the bunkhouse.
Okay, it's just in red here, so I thought something new. Okay. Additional ERO comments on the draft 2024 PPS on page 127-28, and that is something that we have to. I'm quite happy that the planning department is going to comment on this because this really hurts us if it goes through. Do you want to just explain a little bit about your comments back to the province?
Certainly. So further to when I discussed that we had met with members of the ministry last week, it was brought to our attention that the new provincial policy statement is suggesting that we cannot have development on partial services. So that definitely hinders development in the municipality, specifically in Roslyn. But the commenting period only went till May 12th. So when we realized that this was something that we needed to look at, we did already submit comment to the effect that's in this
That's okay.
report
Yeah.
on the ERO site, just to make sure that we got those comments in, because this would be detrimental in a lot of situations for further development in the municipality.
Well, they want development in the settlement areas.
Absolutely.
That's where you've got the problem. Councillor Campa?
So would this have allowed, or this proposal, would it have allowed development if it's all private servicing? Or
Yes. That's, no, you can still have all private servicing.
even on a small lot?
Yes.
So that makes that
So.
makes sense? Any sense?
So I think the major, if I can speak to a specific situation, the Brickyard subdivision.
Yeah.
Would be on municipal water.
Yeah.
But there is no opportunity to be on communal septic.
Gotcha.
That development could not happen because you can't put wells privately in that area because you're in the wellhead protection area. So that eliminates that development if this goes through.
But say it was outside the Waha development area, it would allow, you could do a development like that with private wells and private septic?
Through the chair, you'd have to adhere to the setbacks in regards to private wells and
Yeah.
private septic, so it would probably limit your number
Lot
of
size.
lots in the same,
Yeah.
in the same footprint.
Doesn't make a lot of sense, obviously.
So I'm very thankful that you caught that and got the comments in right away to the province.
Well.
I forwarded them on today
It goes.
to our representative. Yes.
That provision there would prevent us from going ahead with that multiplex idea we had in our
Mhm.
HEWSF application, because it's got communal water. Yeah, I mean, and private septic, so.
I mean, I can't imagine, there's got to be thousands of similar instances across the province. Like that's a very significant change,
Yes.
so.
And other communities, rural communities have commented as well
yeah,
to that effect.
That's not a,
My house is under there, I couldn't do it.
Yeah. yeah, there's a,
Septic and city.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, thank you very much to the planning department. Now we have Committee of Adjustment minutes, page 129 to 131. It's not too long, but it's there. I see that Peggy is now the chair. The other members just caught the new person, put her in the chair and said, it's your job. The building department, we have all the applications, and up to this point, the applications are increasing by the month. You see there, we're almost at $3 million in cost of construction this year, so this only goes up to April, I think April. So we might surpass what we had last year. Any questions on the building report? And we have the traffic movements, Roslyn and Vibert intersection. The roads department did a study or had someone watching it, and there's your report. If you have any questions, Chris is here. But the suggestion is not to put any stop signs there. Yes, Councillor Peacock?
Was the study done from, is this a 2021 study that the report is from?
Through the chair, this was a May 2nd, 2024 study.
Okay. And would there be consideration to put a stop sign at the rec center?
Through the chair, the way the widenings are going to be on the paved shoulders on the new reconstructed Roslyn Road, yes, there will be a stop bar coming out of the community center.
Thank you.
And then we have the Murillo Racetrack proposed upcoming usage, and this is for council from asking for direction from council in request to this person wanting to use the Murillo Racetrack. Councillor Calvert?
well, they never give any dates or when they want, is this just like random whenever they, like, there's nothing outlined here. It's kind of so vague that you know, so maybe someone else has more information, but it seems fairly.
Well,
So through the chair, if I may, there was some discussion back and forth where the OAS was involved and this resident had sent in a request. It's not so much specific to the actual person that's renting it. If we do get requests for private enterprise outside of the OAS,
Mhm.
it's very similar to our one-off things that we've done in previous. As far as renting our facility, when it fell under the OAS, there was an obligation as directed by council to make the track work for the OAS at pro bono, so to speak. If somebody comes to the municipality looking to use the track for carriage, what is our obligation? We knew we have a financial obligation for regards to liability. What are we offering and what are we doing for them? Not so much the date, not so
yeah.
much the user, anybody.
Councillor Campbell?
But of course, we need more detail. So I mean, if it's a one, we're not gonna put, I would think it would be unreasonable for the municipality to put a huge amount of effort into renewing the track for somebody to use it once. But if this was a big thing that somebody was gonna do on a regular basis and it was gonna be like economic development for the community, it'd be something different, but
So
we don't have any detail.
in this regard, the timing that they've asked for it is sometime in June. It doesn't coincide with the fair. It doesn't coincide with the musical ride. And we haven't received an actual request with specifics as yet. Trying to get ahead of this.
Mhm.
Then you're running, if it's June, you know, up to the 22nd is the ball.
Correct.
And it's
Which
it's
would
battling.
that's correct. And the person that's requesting this may not be aware of that weekend
Exactly.
function. So
And-
I would very simply say it's not available that weekend.
that whole week, during the week either,
Correct.
or whenever the round, who knows?
That's
Like,
correct.
that would,
I'm not I don't feel that we should be putting all that kind of money and effort into that for a one-time. You know, like it's the one somebody's trying to make a little bit of money maybe, but it's not of any benefit to our municipality unless he or she, I should say, want to come here and use, you know, fix it up at their cost or pay us to do it.
So through the chair, if the person tours the track with me at a certain time frame that doesn't have any conflict with other users and finds the track acceptable, we don't have to put any input into it.
Okay,
The question is, we need liability insurance, obviously naming us for the
Mhm.
activity. Is there a rate structure attached to this?
that's right. What are we gonna charge?
Mhm.
What's your camp?
And if they clean it up, then there's the charge. It's easy.
I guess the point we're at now is we're just gonna wait until somebody visits with you.
Again, the history with the track is if it's related to the OAS, we did what we could to work with them. It fell under the umbrella. They
Right.
were very explicit in saying they were outside of that umbrella.
Yes. So. Yes, Councillor Viss.
Well, the only thing is that there's a carriage ride and horse races and stuff, is two different things altogether. I mean, this carriage is gonna go at a very slow pace around there, so I don't think we need to worry about dust or doing all of that kind of stuff, but yeah, I've never seen the back end. How grown up is that back end?
Through the chair to the west end of the property, it's becoming that you can't see the back doors of the houses anymore.
Well, may I suggest maybe whoever talks to the fair board, say you better take a look at that, but maybe you can make it work in your own property. It's all cleared in the back there where they are now. They could ride them around that ring.
So as mentioned in the report, this is outside of the fair board.
Yes.
They want
To do it
specifically to
there.
use our track.
Oh,
It's got the track is not the fair board's.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
right.
It's our track. So. Let's hope they don't come the day before they want to have the carriage rides, because then it's not happening.
Fair board, okay. I get it. Okay.
Just a comment generally on the track then, might be a good idea because we do have the equipment that we'd be able to go in there and clip it off once a year or something. Would that not be a good idea?
Yeah, as the report states through the chair, we've been away from that facility in that regard for at least 7 years where we haven't actively used the track and Mother Nature's taken over. Fortunately, the area between the parking lot and the Ball Diamonds gets a lot of foot traffic for, you know, a 2-month window and things don't get to grow. The issue is the west side of the track where the trees are growing in and the overall condition of the track going around in circles. Just as an aside, I can't really go in there till July in a normal summer, let's call it that, based on the conditions.
Okay.
Okay.
Forget it.
Well, we have a few meetings yet, one in May and 2 in June. If he or she decides to come to you, we'll decide. And then the Roslyn Village Drinking Water System, the annual inspection, we have this for information purposes. If you have any questions. Councillor Peacock?
Not sure. Okay, overall, I think the report was fine. It's just, it's disappointing that we have a non-compliance issue when we have hired a company to look after the water system.
Through
Your comment on that?
the chair, in defense of our operators of our current situation, that was directly related to tying in and shutting off the temporary water to perform the sewer and water work last year. It was a no fault of Aqua.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That was a
Yeah.
tie-in.
All 21, Chris, like you said, there was 21 non-compliances.
Through the chair, that's 21 points total
Oh,
out of a possible 194.
yeah, okay. And they're all dealing with what you're saying.
That's correct.
Okay, that's the only thing I picked up. Otherwise, I thought we did an
Yeah.
excellent job.
95.75 out of
okay.
100. Oh, that's the highest
We
we've
did
ever
excellent,
seen it.
yep.
So I think that's terrific.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, we have the awarding the RFQ 31-2024 for the crack sealing. Northern Crack Sealers at $1.98 per meter plus HST. We have a resolution that's been moved and seconded to accept that RFQ and award the job. Councillor Campoff?
Through the chair, are there any other crack sealers locally?
Through the chair, no, none with the highway work. There is the odd small parking lot operators, but none that can do the 6,000 to 7,000 meters a day that the bigger players do.
And the price was right.
Price meets the budget. Again, we've done this for about 7, 8 years in a row here now, and our other bidders, vendors were contacted, and they're busy. And they were from out of town.
Okay. Any further discussion? Resolution has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Then we have an LRMC alternative. We have never appointed an alternative for the Lake Douro Municipal Coalition because I never missed a meeting. I have to miss a meeting this month. We have a meeting every second month on the third Tuesday of every month at every second month at 5:30, and it's Zoom. So it's going to be on the let's see, April, May. It's going to be on the 21st at 5:30, and they usually go around an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. So if someone, I know the reason that I chair the meetings, but Jim Vesna will be chairing, he's the vice chair. But the reason I think it's important we have someone there is because they will be discussing the fire department the fire departments working together, and I think we have to have someone there to support that. So if someone's interested in being my alternative, like I said, I've never missed a meeting once in all these years because my computer didn't work with the Zoom. So if someone wants to put their name down. Via Zoom, you don't even have to leave the chair. You can sit in your barn, Bernie, and do the meeting. It's just this one meeting.
And then they'd be the alternate all the time, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like I say, for the rest of the
Not
time,
that, yeah.
but now that I know of an alternative, I can miss more meetings, right? No, I don't really want to miss the meetings, but it just happens I'll be flying to Toronto that night, so.
You could change the recommendation to be the one-time alternative.
Oh, well, you can do the one-time alternative if you feel better. Sometimes we don't even have a meeting because we don't get enough heads of council there or their alternative. So you don't have to chair the meeting, you just have to be there. Come on, guys, somebody put up their hand. Oh, you can do it, Dan.
I will.
Okay, that's good. Dan's name in there.
I will do it, but I won't be the alternate, but I'll do it this time.
Do it this
Dan, you're in.
No.
Councillor Calvert. So we have a resolution moved in second recommending the appointment of Councillor Dan Calvert as the alternate for the meetings of the LRMC. And like I said, I really do try to be at every meeting. It happened this way that I'm in the air. Hard to sit in an airplane. They cut off your Zoom, otherwise it could do it from there. All in favor? Quickly put your hands up. Opposed? None. Okay, now. I know, you put his elbow up. Summer meeting schedule. We have a resolution moved and seconded as to our Summer meeting schedule. Was there any concerns of any person? No? All in
It's
favor?
okay to me.
We sometimes try this and sometimes we end up with more meetings,
Yeah,
but let's
and-
give it a kick.
And I noted earlier, I won't be here for the August meeting. I'm in Vegas.
Okay,
Wedding,
August
August
28th.
28th, sorry.
Are you going to have enough money to come back?
Well, that's the thing, eh?
You may be
Maybe
there longer.
I got my plane ticket, as long as I have a ticket.
You're bringing your bride down to Vegas?
Yeah, hey.
That's right.
Might have to be a one-way trip.
One-way trip is right.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's for sure.
all in favor?
Yep.
Did you want to record it, Wade? I know it is. Well, at least we get along with each other. That's much we can say about our
Good.
council. All in favor? Most carried. Okay, the school bus transport eligibility, it was brought to our attention that, well, someone had called me already from Keckabek, and I brought it up previously, that well, our concern was Keckabeka Falls with the children having to walk across the road, but obviously there is a policy that eliminates that they won't happen there, so
Unaffected,
we're
right.
okay. Yes.
Mhm.
We did it in my day, but I'm not young.
It was 5 back then.
Yeah, we had to walk even for the high school, not to the high school,
Walk
but
to
we had to
school,
bus.
uphill.
Both
over there,
ways.
Coming back and
No
against the
shoes.
wind.
My husband used to say they only had one pair of shoes, so first his brother had them one way and then he had.
Awesome.
Across
The
the new.
stories we told, eh?
road.
Okay, we have a resolution for endorsement from other municipalities. These are the ones, letters that correspondence that you get and you have a page full of this black. We're not putting them in there
No,
anymore.
we just have the one.
The
that's
first one and any that come after that with the same topic are going to go into an electronic filing system and it's not
Good
coming.
enough, that's right.
So the resolution's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have a recommendation for sole source procurement of Quastica budgeting software for $24,500 that we received that separately. That has to do with the treasurer. I believe that's the course we took with that one company. Was that the company we took the sample with kind of and learned how to do things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is in the budget
Mm-hmm.
and we examined other software to sort this, but this one, as the report says, was the best for our needs. So yeah, in the budget, it is below what we originally had budgeted for the amount. And so it would be part of the general changes we plan to make to the accounting package as we move forward. So this should streamline our budget process, should make it easier to make changes as we go along, and should also result in more timely reporting. And also it has features that allow us to report to the public as a whole, so they can see summary reports as to where we stand on various projects and stuff.
I
So
believe there was also a portion that as a council member, I could go in and see what was entered in every account.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes, so there are different,
changing it, of course, we couldn't touch anything, but we could see it.
yeah, this is simply reporting software, so it would be separate from the general ledger.
Yeah.
So you can't make any changes to our base accounting information, and there are different levels of permissions
Right.
available for each person to look at, so.
Any, Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I think when we took the overview with the company, it is compatible with our existing Minisoft program.
Yes, that was one of the
Yeah.
most important features.
Okay, any further discussion? The resolution's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We now have reports of committees from the Health Unit, the DSAB, the Conservation Authority, the LRMC, and the Source Protection Authority. Okay, and I believe our level 2 water, low water level 2 has been changed to 1 because of the water we had recently. So I received a letter for that. Yes,
Just wondering, the LRCA meeting, April the 20th, was it only a 3-minute meeting? Counselor Calvert?
That might have been like just been a source protection water one. That was-
Okay,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
3 minutes.
a regular one, and then we just went. in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the source protection is just, we have our meeting,
I know, in between.
and then they
Yeah.
just verify what we have as a committee.
It's just a add-on.
That's a formality. Okay, then we have the bylaws, ZBLA 04/2024 definition of bunkhouse. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Then we have a bylaw in regards to the agreement with Solicitor General Court Security Prisoner Transportation. Any discussion? It has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we had a resolution for the endorsement from other municipalities, which is, as I said, don't keep bringing all those letters to us. Any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. There's our long list, page and a half. And then we have the amend blue box regulation for ineligible sources, and I see that it has been printed in there for our approval. It's been moved and seconded. So there's some discussion on this, if someone can explain it. This.
So through the new ongoing changes coming into play in July 1st, 2024, as municipalities opt into recycling contracts through till 2026, there is a portion of the recycle coming in that is non-eligible for pickup. Therefore, those costs become ours, and they are directly related to the commercial sector. So if a commercial business brings recycling to the landfill, we do not get compensated to handle that product and send it out.
So we have to just put it in our landfill site with the rest of the garbage?
We have to come up with a strategy,
Oh.
whether there's a bill or whether there's a process that we are gonna absorb for our commercial people to take their recycles. And is all being spilled out over the next 7 to 8 months.
How about agricultural? Is that considered commercial?
Agricultural is considered a go. We're good to go.
Agricultural
is non-eligible.
Non-eligible.
It's eligible?
Non-eligible.
So it's also, we don't get covered for agricultural.
So in theory, we have 2,600 users, 2,600 tax bills ballpark, of which I think 173 are commercial and 212 are agricultural. We do not see agricultural recycling based on what they're bringing.
Mhm.
We see some commercial recycling coming to site, whereas, 98% of our material is residential. It's the 2% that we will not get compensated for.
Okay. Councillor Campoff?
So, so this resolution there's from several municipalities here is just to encourage the province to cover everything, which would be much simpler, I would think.
Through the chair, Circular Materials Ontario is based on, consumers or producer pay. And what they've done is they've isolated the commercial and the agricultural aspect out of it for some reason. And we need to get behind this.
Okay, good. So I'm sure that the resolution's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed, carried. And the keeping of non-native exotic wild animals, we do have policy on that, so go hide your snakes. Basic income guarantee and the funding social services, those were two other correspondence we received. Yes, they are. And message from Chief Darcy Fleury in regards to their city police department, an update on the private well water testing. It is going to remain free, which is nice. Impact 2023 annual report and the DSAB 2023 annual report. The Ontario Power Generation. The 24 census test is coming in May. The Thunder Bay Police News, the Multi-Municipal Energy Working Group, Rural Health Fair, which is going to be at the Legion on May the 29th from noon till 3. The Henry Mattis's retirement at O'Connor, which is on May the 25th from 1 to 4 at O'Connor Community Center, if anybody's available or able to attend. And the DSAB update. Now I would ask if there's any, I'm sorry.
No problem. Just wondering, when Chad Tanner was here from Hydro with the other people that were here, there was a suggestion that there were some perhaps surplus items that we could get. What is it that we were interested in?
Through the chair, we have until March 1st of 2025 to go put stickers on things we like. And then, of course, there is costs associated with taking stuff. There is also agreements in place where we might exercise getting OPG to do some work for the municipality to set up displays or take the type of things that we're looking at. They are very keen on a heritage feature being parlayed with the parks and the municipality in some way, shape, or form. We're still chatting about that. The overall demolition of the facility starts March 1st, 2026. So there has been some, or March 1st, 2025. There has been discussion in regards to approximately 700 feet of aluminum 6-inch piping that may be used for dry wells for fire departments and stuff of that nature. There's also miles of tech cable that unfortunately we weren't able to utilize for our rink, for the rink upgrade this year. There is numerous switch gears and transfer switches that may be eligible to go onto our buildings, and they will support those type of things. Based on most of our facilities, we have a requirement for that. They are very keen on, if you're taking stuff that you need, then they really want to see entering into an agreement to some sort of heritage purpose beyond that. So it's not free, it's not a shopping spree. There would be other stuff coming along the way as well.
Yes, Chris and I were lucky to go through all the buildings, except for the one down by the river, but we went through all the other buildings before a Cam River Advisory Board meeting last week. It was nice. We got to see some of those, the one building, the first one we went in, where the water goes underneath. If you just saw all the wood, none of it was planed. It was like, I don't know, thick, wide, huge boards, not planed. They were all rough lumber. Still look very good, some of them. Very, very good. So
So through the chair, we were in there last summer as well. Myself and Don went in and for the initial scope of the work that they were looking at, and we kind of scoped out some things that we'd be interested in overall. And then through the course of last fall, winter, the negotiations kind of started in regards to the heritage piece. So we're talking to them once a month. And I don't think anything's coming for free,
Yeah.
if you can understand that.
no, that's right.
Good, thank you.
And there were some humongous parts. I don't know where you would put them and how you would cover them because, you know, they're not of any use once they come out of the machine. So. Okay, new business, Councillor Viss. Councillor Calvert.
Yes, I'd just like to kudos to Chris and the staff there. I see all the new bleachers that are at the ball diamonds and that. They look really good, and the diamonds just it's really going well over there. Joe, I know, is very happy with it.
Good. Councillor Peacock.
Thank you. Just a few things here. First of all, congratulations to Thunder Bay Co-op, iTech 2000 and Boyle Tree Nurseries. They're businesses within our municipality, but they received the Business Excellence Awards at the recent Thunder Bay Chamber of Commerce. Oh, we were, okay. Alrighty. Just wondering, how did the mine rescue go?
Through the chair, it went very well. Their wrap-up dinner was Friday night. They ran late on Friday to get the competition in. So they were still cleaning up this weekend. Very well received in regards to the facility. They were very happy. Apparently, Nebing has kicked them out, Nebing Arena.
Oh.
So I don't know why. They were a great use of our building. No damage done and very well received.
Perfect.
Okay, just a couple of other things. Thank you for the opportunity to go to NOMA. I did, with Councillor Viss, go to speak with Chris Holland from Smart Modular Homes. And he suggested that perhaps we come by and have a look at the operation down there. So said maybe we could put that on our radar for a road inspection. We could have a look down there. He did mention at the presentation that the only issue that he's had is with Oliver Papunj and that you have to be hooked up to the existing well and septic field for the these small homes. So are we any further ahead on what happens with our tiny homes? Are we?
We're going to look at them whenever we get to an official plan, but right now we don't have any recognition of tiny homes, I believe.
At the council meeting last month, when we approved eliminating the minimum square footage for accessory dwellings, in theory, that would allow tiny homes, subject to.
But they still have to be on the septic system and the
Yes,
water
that's,
system with the
that's
main
not
dwelling.
changing.
No, that's not changing. no.
Okay, and a thumbs up to the road crew or general recreation. The cemetery work is progressing. People are pleased with the efforts put there. And I wasn't sure if you had or anyone had seen how we monitor this. But there's a proposed yoga class that's going to be held at they're advertising, it's going to be at the Kakabeka Ball Diamonds. So I don't know how can we monitor that at all, or
No
just
idea.
help yourself, do what you like there?
So through the chair, as discussions revolve around our recreation facilities, we do not have a recreational coordinator. I hope for the best that there isn't a baseball game planning to be there the same day
Right?
and they can sort it out.
That's right. They can sort it out themselves. Okay, anything else, Councillor Campoff?
No.
No, okay.
O'Connor and all the fire department looking forward to our chief spending 49 years here.
He's not commenting on that one. He's going by.
Yeah. I do have a new business
Certainly.
item, so. So two quick ones. Wayne and I had a quick meeting with Keith Wells this afternoon,
Mhm.
actually, it was positive, so. He's offered support with our whole shared services endeavor and
Okay.
is well aware of the mutual aid challenges that we're facing, so that was encouraging. Second item is April 15th. I got a letter from Treasury Board. And thank you for sharing your EM program related information and the effort undertaken to do so. Upon review of the documentation submitted, EMO is pleased to advise that our assessment indicates your municipality has satisfied all 13 program elements required under the EMCPA. So this is our compliance letter for our emergency management program.
Perfect. Thank you.
John, excuse me, one quick question. Who's Keith Wells?
He is like assistant deputy fire marshal. He's pretty high up in the.
Yeah.
And he did the Zoom meeting with the LRMC.
Mhm.
So he's a big boss for the fire service.
And all of our cell phones are walking out, right?
If that's the date, yeah, for the alert ready, yeah. Yeah, tomorrow's the 15th, yeah. That got pushed around. It was supposed to happen during the emergency management week,
Yes.
but for some reason it.
No. And we did attend, I attended 2 days. I think you did too. Attended the heat wave tabletop exercise provincially. It was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday by Zoom.
Yeah, so I'm hoping they provide some more information and I'll be able to put something together on what was there. So it was a provincial wide emergency test,
It included Thunder Bay too.
including Thunder Bay, and we were asked to participate in it, but we didn't get information for the program. So we signed up as observers for a whole bunch of us.
Mhm.
And I'll, won't say anything else.
No, that's okay. We'll have changes for next year if that happens. Okay, so we have a resolution, nothing more from anyone? No, okay, we're going to resolve to close session, the hour being 6:58 PM. We will have a 5-minute break and then we will continue with our closed session. Thank you. We have a resolution to reconvene the council meeting. It's been moved and seconded and convene our meeting at 7:52 PM. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have a resolution moved and seconded to approve the closed session minutes held on April the 24th, 2024. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we have a resolution to confirm the meeting that we held this evening. All in favor? Opposed? It's been moved. And then we have a resolution to adjourn the council meeting, the time being 7:53 PM. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?